Hello everyone, welcome to By the Fire with Buck. Today we have Philip Tetley-Jones from Dispensary. He's done work as a copywriter for companies like Porsche, Vodafone, IoT Ads, Steel Shop, and he's based in Auckland. So Philip, thank you for coming here today. Great to have you here. So why don't you tell the audience here a little bit about yourself, who you are, and how long have you been in business for?
Well, I've been a copywriter since the 1980s, which sounds like a long time ago now. And the way I would like to spin that is I've seen many different eras of communication, but the fundamentals have never changed.
That's right. I mean, we have all the technology, all developments over the years, and you got social media, but back then there was no social media. We got newspapers and whatnot, but then again I think the basics, the fundamentals still the same. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what drives me. And if you think about it, it's kind of obvious. We all use language, we all use words, and we take it for granted. But there's a real art to getting over a very powerful message in a very short time to people who don't have much time or much interest necessarily. So whether you're doing that on a poster or in a radio ad, or whether you're doing that with a caption on Instagram, there's still people who do it well and people who don't do it well. My job is to specialise in doing it well.
Yeah. So is that what a copywriter do? Can you tell the audience here a bit more about what is copywriting?
Copywriting's a word that some people get a little bit hung up on. Auditors is marketing, writing. It's writing. But what makes it different from writing poetry or writing newspaper articles or writing a film script is that you're always looking to promote a company, help it sell products, or perhaps to do some content like a newsletter. But it's writing on behalf of a brand, of a service, of a product. So my take on it is, if you want good writing, employ a professional.
Oh, that's true. I believe that. Why spend so many hours and just sit there and you can't write a proper sentence?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, some people are good at it. Some people have a talent for it. That's fine, you know. And one of the great things about the internet and social media has democratized writing. There's all sorts of people who can turn their hand to it. Some of them are talented. Some of them do it well. Most people are probably better off focusing on what they're really good at, which might be being a lawyer or running a company. Or even being a face-to-face salesperson. So there is value in having people who really are focused on how to make that headline, how to write a 5-word headline that draws people in. It's harder than you think.
Who understand the market and industries and someone's got the experience to express the ideas.
Do you know what it really is? It's about having a really finely honed interest in your customers. Now, that's something kind of sounds obvious, but a lot of people who work for a company or have a brand, they actually can't help but they're very focused on what they're selling and what they're doing, and they're not always very good at clearly understanding what the benefit of that is to the person who's using it.
Right.
So, as a trained copywriter, what you're always doing is you've got a lot of interest in what makes people get interested in something. How does it change their life? And then you think, how can I help tell a story about this product or this service or this company that makes this customer's life better? It's really as simple as that, but it's harder than you think.
I think it's harder than you think. I agree with that. You have to do a lot of research, and you do need to understand a lot about the background, the people, the human psychology. What takes, right? What takes. So it's very interesting. I hardly came across copywriting before. I mean, as a normal person, I didn't know what copywriting is until I met you, and you tell me about what the work that you've done and things like that. So thanks for explaining that to the audience. I hope that you guys know what copywriting is now, and maybe looking for a copywriter to help you with your promotional marketing materials. So that'd be good. So Philip here is a guy to go to.
Thank you.
So Philip, what made you choose this type of business?
At school, I was always interested in writing. I liked writing stories, essays. I was interested in literature, movies, art, and in hindsight, that was always where I wanted to have a profession. When I was 17, I didn't know much about it, but I found out about a course at what is now AUT University, which would train you to work in the advertising business.
Oh, right.
So it's now a Bachelor of Communications. Anyway, it wasn't a degree course back then. I did that course, and then I used that as my springboard into the world of advertising agency creative departments. I worked in Auckland, I went down to Wellington, and then I spent 12 years working in advertising agencies in London as well.
Wow. Okay.
So that was my way to see the world, but also
to understand more of the different cultures and different methods that they use.
But also to get good professional experience working on all sorts of different brands.
Yes.
So, and then in the early 2000s, I went into business for myself. So there's a whole story about that. But essentially, I moved out of working for an advertising agency and became a copywriter gun for hire.
Right. And you've done a lot of work for big companies and small companies as well. Porsche is one of them. I looked at your work and it's amazing. I really love that. What you write, really amazing. So, Philip, being a writer, do you have any writers who inspired you or have impacted your writing styles?
The answer is yes. The short answer is yes. The long answer, I'll try to make it short. The long answer is I'm always interested in words. I'm always interested in writers. I spend a lot of my time in Unity books. I like discovering new writers. I get quite passionate about them. But in terms of specifically looking at writers, there's a book here. This is it, a Tarshan book, the copy book.
Sorry, that's my clock.
Do I carry on?
Carry on.
It's a great book. It's how some of the best advertising writers in the world write their advertising. And there's 4 or 5 in here in particular that I always enjoy going back to. There's a guy called David Abbott. He's passed away now. He was the guy who really showed me what was possible. I mean, it's probably not going to be read, but that is just a beautiful piece of writing, and it's selling a whiskey. You can sell something, but you can also write it in a very natural, sophisticated but heartfelt way. And I was very influenced by him. I thought that here's another one. This is from the 1980s. I remember I saw this ad. I thought, wow, the nerve of that. He's actually the guy in there. So it's a great...
So he's this guy here, right?
Yeah, it's a great product demo. It's absolutely true, but the way he's written it, if you read the copy, it's perfect.
I think that actually being the product of itself in the ad, I think makes you feel, and you sort of have the feelings and the understanding, the emotions that you can actually put into words.
So he was very good at that. He's not the only great writer out there, of course, but that you asked me for one in particular. I learnt so much just from looking at the way he did very sophisticated, but not pretentious, very direct, emotional, powerful advertising on behalf of brands. Like the brand is always the star. The Chivas Regal whiskey, the Volvo car is what he wants you to remember. But he tells a story in a way that very few writers can do, but with some great art direction, some beautiful photography. There's a whole team behind it. But that was what really made me think, wow, you can do anything with writing.
Yes, I agree with that. And nowadays, with all the forms of, say, sound, voice, videos, I think writing still plays a really important role in convincing and conveying a story.
You are totally right there. I'll name no names, but I recently worked on a project where a lot of money had been committed by a big brand. They'd gone and shot a lot of footage, and then the film company tried to put it together to create a little 1 minute video piece of storytelling, and they couldn't do it. They realized they needed a framework, so they engaged me to try and string together the story. It was the wrong way round, but then I realized, well, it's actually harder than you think. You can go out and shoot a lot of footage. If it's a very simple piece of storytelling, you might be able to get away with it, but most storytelling gets quite complicated quite soon, and to make it look simple, that's the writer's art.
Yes.
And I enjoy all that stuff. Obviously, you want to use music, you want to use a good voiceover, you've got beautiful graphics. All these tools are available. You can use stock footage, stock images, but to me, what still gets me excited is the idea that someone is sitting there crafting a story and creating a script which pulls you into that story and makes you feel something, and at the end of it you think, wow, those are clever people. Not what a clever piece of writing, you just think, what a great brand.
It's all work together, right? It's not just voice, not just video, not just music, but also the script, the writing behind, the storytelling. So all work together. So
actually, but my point is almost always you should start with a good script. And that doesn't mean fussing over every last word, but you need to have something that actually pulls the main messages together and develops logically rather than jumping all over the place. You can't fix that up with
right structure to follow.
Your editing obviously will give you the tools to put that together, but you really want to make sure you've got all the elements of the story in the right order. You're not missing out anything, and you kind of need a writer, or someone with a writer's sensibility, to create that.
I think that makes sense. I agree with that. So anyway, let's move on. So you did mention that before, when you wanted to be a writer at 17 years old, which is a really young age. When I was 17 years old, I didn't know what I wanted to do. But you really knew what you wanted to do.
I didn't really. I needed some help.
I guess we all do at 17 years old, right? But then you got your love, your passion in writing, and I think let's just say that. Imagine you was 17 again. Would you foresee who you have become today as a copywriter?
I probably. It wasn't as straightforward as that, but I think almost in almost every case, if you talk to anyone in their 50s or 40s even, they will say, oh, I didn't quite see that my life would turn out this way, because things change over time, and the market changes, the world changes, your life relationship changes. But in broad terms, yes, I wanted to be a writer, and I kind of still am one. So it worked out.
It worked out. I mean, I guess it doesn't work. It's not the same for everyone, but I guess if you have that strong feelings and strong passion about what you love doing and you're good at, then I guess eventually you become what you always wanted to become.
And this is veering into general advice, but even if you don't have a really clear vision, just be interested in something and follow your interest, your passion. Learn how to get skills, learn how to be good at things. But then sometimes you will change direction. I like my friend, I think I told you about, who had a career in travel and now is a lawyer, a barrister. You can change, and you can be very good at more than one thing.
So yes, I agree. I guess if you are a young writer who aspiring to be a writer, just learn this from Philip, and I guess can they just reach out to you and ask for advice, or just to reach out as a connection, just to learn from you? Is anyone who
wants to be a copywriter? Yeah. I think you need three things. You need to be really interested in people, and you need to have a real sense of empathy, which kind of sounds a bit bleeding hard, but what it is you've got to be fundamentally interested in what stirs people, what because feelings and emotions drive things, and logic is part of it, but actually people are driven by emotion. So you want to always be thinking about, who are we talking to, what will what might they do? How might they change?
Yes.
Are we appealing to their desire to look after their family, to be a success, to look good in the eyes of their neighbours, or their fears, to be defend themselves? Always be interested in that. The second thing I'd say is always be interested in words. Actually be interested in language.
Yes.
Which doesn't mean to say you have to write stories for a hobby, but you've got to be someone who fundamentally likes to play with it a little bit.
Curious about it.
Yeah, well, you've got to be someone who can sit down and just want to write a headline 20 different ways because you're just trying to find out how changing it around
that's true.
makes it different. And you train yourself to do that in a disciplined way, but you've got to actually say, this is kind of what I do. I like what if I could use a stronger verb here? What if it could be shorter? Could it be a question? You just want to try it all different ways, and if you do that, you'll develop your ability to write really strong, powerful words. And the third thing I would say is always be learning, which probably applies to everything. Always be practicing, always be curious, always be wanting to find out. You've got to have an ability to be curious in just about everything, because you'll be working with clients. It could be a medical product, it could be a technical product, it could be a piece of soap. But there's you've always got to find a way to what's the story behind here?
I agree with that, and actually that really similar to the way who I am as well, as being curious about what I do. And for example, for me, if I look at a client, I would say, what if I do it like this way? If I do it this way, would it make any difference? How experimenting it, right, to find a solution.
It's a good life skill anyway, for almost all of us, I would say. But particularly if you want a career in communication and specifically in writing, copywriting, because otherwise you will just default to doing simple formulas. And there are people who promote a very formulaic approach to copywriting.
I've seen that, yes.
And I'm not saying it doesn't work, and you can certainly learn from it. It's not the way I really like to approach it, because I think it ultimately everything comes out the same. It's a kind of cookie cutter approach, but I do realise that it has some value, because there are techniques that are proven, and so you should learn from that. But to me, I would kind of go mad if I thought that was all what I want to do. However, some people have a more sort of nuts and bolts scientific approach to it, and that may work for them, or they may find their clients and projects that they can really apply that mentality to. So learn from it, but I'm just talking about me.
Totally. I agree with that. For me, I believe that no formula fits all, right? Every business is different, and the reasoning why it's different is that because they are run by people, and everyone's different.
We have the same philosophy. And I try and sit in that place in the middle where you say there's usually some wisdom or something to learn from the formulas, because people have tried these and people have found what works. Generally, a short headline is better. So if you force yourself to always try and compress things, you will usually write better headlines. But if you have a rule which says no headline can be longer than 5 words, you will write very limited, so you will be quite a limited writer, and you will miss the occasion when you can break the rule and do a much better headline. So always allow yourself the ability to break the rules.
Experimenting.
But learn the rules, learn the techniques, learn the tricks, learn the formulas.
I agree. So Philip, we've known a bit about yourself now. Let's have a little break, and we come back to you guys really soon. All right.
Cheers.
Hello, welcome back to By the Fire with Buck. So we just back from the break here, a short break, just to give Phil a little bit of coffee for him. And now we continue with our interview. Next question is going to be about how businesses can benefit from having a copywriter. So anyway, Phil, what do you advise people to do or not to do before engaging a copywriter like yourself?
I think you need to have your basic strategy, and most importantly, some budget. You can't just be at the level of, I want to somehow make something happen, but I'm not really prepared to spend any money, because it's a professional. You're engaging a professional.
Yep. So
you have to have like an idea. For instance, we've got a database. We want to do a quarterly email newsletter. We've bought the software. We've got HubSpot or MailChimp or Marketo, something like that.
Yep.
But we realise we actually want a copywriter to generate all the content, and we're going to actually spend money doing this. A lot of organisations will try and keep it in-house. Fair enough if you want to do that, but just imagine for this purpose that you're spending money. So at that point, you say, essentially take that plan to your copywriter contact and say, this is what we'd like to do. Here's our basic ideas, but ask for their input. They might actually then be able to add value and say, could we do a little interview with some of your staff members or your customers? Could we shoot a little video? And it's just really at the brainstorming stage. So what I'm trying to say is, you want to have your basic plan, you want to have a budget, you want to have an idea of what you're trying to achieve. Another example might be, we want to do a radio campaign. So you're prepared to do it, and you know what you're going to sell. At that point, instead of trying to do it yourself, get the copywriter in. A good copywriter will help you refine the task and the brief and the project. They'll give you a costing, and then they'll say, are we good to go? Let's do it. So it's at that point where you're committed to doing it, but you haven't necessarily tied down every last detail, and you're open to some alternative ways of doing. Equally, you might be really well prepared. You might have done a website with a whole lot of pages, and you realise you just got to fill the content for all those pages. So here it is. Here's the site plan. So what I'm getting at is, when you are serious about marketing, that's when to do it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good then. Well, thanks for the input. That's very useful. I hope that people, the audience out there, they sort of have an idea of what to prepare before coming to a copywriter.
Copywriters usually more than happy to chat, talk about it. At some point, it can't be like endless conversations, but just to find out what you're interested in, what you want to do, give you some initial ideas. And certainly for myself, I don't charge for that initial discussion. You're not risking anything, but then at that point you say, okay, we've talked about it, now we're going to go ahead and do it, and here's the task for you to do with the budget.
Right. That's good. I think it's always good to have a budget in mind, because that sort of decides.
It says it's a real task. You're not just making stuff up, and wasting people's time.
No, totally. I think I only believe that having a budget is my line of work as a business consultant, management consultant, and also as a management accountant. Having a budget is really important. Actually, decides a lot of things in your business operations. What to do this, and when to do this, and how do you do this, and how do you spread it out over the year and things like that, and what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. So having a budget is important for me, in my point of view as a financial professional.
It's a good process, and for me, psychologically, it says you actually regard this as an investment in your business. Marketing is about creating new customers and building on the value of existing customers. You regard that as something, I spend $1, I should get $5, $10 back. So you have a mentality that you're spending money as an investment, not just like, it's some sort of fluffy stuff that you kind of try and do for free.
No, totally. I think when you talk about existing clients thing, there's a not a saying, not scientifically proven, but a rule of thumb in business that it costs 5 times more to gain a new client than to retain an existing client, right? So if you have
I'm quite passionate about this, and I've been beating the drum for this a little bit because I've worked with some customers who have really good databases. For instance, just say a financial advisor, a mortgage broker. They will have all the people they've dealt with in their CMS, their customer management system. They should be proactively reaching out and communicating with them. at least a couple of times a year.
Yep.
Because some of those people will be coming back into the market all the time, and you're not going out there pushing a sale on them. You're not trying to scam them or spam them. What you're doing is saying, I'm here and I would like to share my expertise, my insights and news. It's worth your while to read this because I'm pretty onto it in my area.
Totally, yes.
And that means that of that, say, 1,000 customers and 1% of them are actually in the market again, that's 10 customers. And if you have them coming back to you rather than going somewhere else, that's effectively free business. You've just got
exactly right. Yeah. I mean, like, it costs 5 more times to get a new client.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, if you invest a little bit of money into retaining the relationship with your current clients, it saves you 5 times more money.
Yeah. And this is where social media and digital channels can be really good if you use them smart.
Exactly.
Because you're just retaining that awareness. You're not irritating people. You shouldn't be irritating people, but you're just, popping up in their lives to remind them that you're still around and always here to talk when you want to buy something else.
Exactly.
Much easier than going out and winning a totally new customer from scratch.
Yep. All right. So what else is looking for? At what stage of a business should a business owner approach a copywriter?
With a startup, so if you're a startup, when you need to go to market for the first time, that's obviously a very important time. And the second time is any time you want to earn more money from your existing customers. So you want to take that money off the table. Let's find ways of communicating our stories to them, our case studies, and making sure they realise the value that we can add to their business.
Exactly. Oh, that's good advice.
Yeah, when you're in a marketing frame of mind, is what I guess I'm coming at. Kind of sounds obvious, but
always on the offense.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So next question is, do you think with the rise of social media, copywriting has become more and more important for business branding?
Yes. It's not like other stuff has become less important. It's just that writing, the words side of it, will always be important. And I was fascinated because I'm old enough to remember back in the 90s, there was this frame of mind that it's all about imagery now. No one reads words, everyone just gets images streamed at them all the time. And then the internet came along, email became the default way of communicating. Twitter, for goodness sake, is pretty much nothing but typed characters, and people suddenly realized that you need words. I love the story. I don't do this myself, but I love the way that millennials and even younger people invented a whole new form of communication, a whole new channel called Instagram captions, where they just wrote these bloody long essays underneath a picture, and Instagram was never intended to do that, but they turned it into a writing medium just because people love that voice. They love feeling a person is talking to them.
I think that's the story behind the photo, right? So on Instagram, like when you see through the feed, it's just photo, but when you click on the photo, you see the caption, and that's where the story begins. That's how you understand what's behind the photo, what was it telling you?
We're the personality, so and I, as I said, this is not really my specialty, but it's just a way of saying that you can't get away from the fact that writing and words are always a string to your bow. You should always be looking to do that. People are interested, or if you're interesting, they will read anything. So it's not that words are good or words are bad. People like stories. People are interested in other people. If you're interesting, they will be interested in them. So all you have to do is convey that in your writing. You might be able to do that yourself, or you might need a professional's help. Obviously, I'm a professional, but if you're the sort of person who can share your life on Instagram and create this wonderful world, go ahead and do it. You might want to get more professional help if you're scripting a video or writing a website. But it's all about words.
I think what's important has always been a story, right? like however long it was, 2,000 years ago to now, it's always about a story.
Yeah.
And how you tell it, how you convey the audience what this story is all about, what is the beginning, what is the third act, what is the second act, and all those things, and that's always been about how do you
people just love it.
Yep.
That's who we are. Every culture, every group does it. We have different languages, we live in different situations, but we are drawn to stories. And to the extent now that bad actors can put out fake news and malicious stuff, they're exploiting that. They are working with people or trying to trick people by giving them a compelling story that isn't true. And that just tells you how dangerous it is. So let's make the good stuff as compelling. Let's understand that people want that stuff. So let's find the good stories and craft that with care and love and professionalism.
That's the thing, right? I mean, like, people are always drawn to scandals and all these
conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories, all the dramas, right?
Yeah.
But then the good stuff, the stuff that are actually useful for people, are always underrated, like business values and whatnot. Why don't we just focus on those things and up our game and deliver the positivity?
I think that's the way the world is moving. We are, I think, certainly as the 21st century goes on, people are understanding that they want that human connection, they want the authenticity, they want a brand or a company to show a little bit of its heart. Now, you can do it in a good way or a bad way, but the thing is, you don't want to be this pseudo-detached, remote, impersonal thing. You actually want to show that there's real energy and passion and drama behind what we do. And yeah, sure, it might be and you might be selling a management service or a product, but there's still people behind it, and there's still it still changes people's lives. So build that into your storytelling.
Totally.
I kind of think that's what a good copywriter, a good writer will do for you,
or
help you do it.
I agree, and with understanding and the experience and skills, I think that would be much easier to deliver a much better story. Right. So let's move on to the next question here. How did COVID-19 lockdowns or COVID-19 in general affect your business?
I think we've all got our lockdown story. My one is that it was initially the shock of just the whole world is changing, and then I philosophically said, well, I'm available to work. I can still work. I'm used to working remotely. If there's no business out there, I'll just kind of manage it. But it turned out that a lot of people needed help with their communications. So I was helping a lot of my clients change their websites to be proactive with their communications, to send out newsletters, and they got fantastic open rates at that time, because they weren't just cheesy sort of, hey, we hope you're good. They were real targeted advice for people in that scenario. And I thought, actually, I'm really busy helping my customers deliver value to their customers. Once again, the value of a writer. And then there were people who were looking to pivot their business. So a construction company at the time I worked with, they were at the time were concerned that the whole business would shut down. Didn't turn out that way, but they thought we might need to change our product offer. So they got me. I helped them reconceive their website. I wrote new content for to help promote different parts of their business, and we could all do that during lockdown, so they could relaunch very positively, rather than just sit there hoping that it would be okay.
That's a good way to look at it, right? I mean, same for my business as well. That's why that when the lockdown started, I sent out an email to all my clients, say, hey, I'm here to help. And as you know, I work remotely already, so I'm still here if you need any help. And you got all these new plans from the government that they're going to announce soon, so I'm going to send you an update soon, and just to let people know that you're there.
So on that real functional level, you had a marketing mentality, just looking to help people, and you were proactive with your communication. The other thing that came out was there's always been a bit of a cliche in business that the first budget that gets cut when there's a crisis is the marketing budget, but that didn't happen so much this time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think the message has got through that you don't shut off the pipeline. At the first sign of trouble. If you have a good marketing operation, that's your pipeline of business 3, 6, 12, 24 months down. It's a big mistake to disappear from the marketplace.
I agree with that.
So most clients, not all of them, most clients didn't make that mistake, which was good because it meant that people in the communications business didn't have to sit there waiting for the whole economy to fire up again. We did stay active.
No, good. Always on the offense.
As you say, on the offense. See the positive, see the opportunity, rather than see it as a problem.
No, exactly, and that's what business owners should do. And think business. There's a mindset there. How do I pivot? This and
it comes back to seeing it as an investment again, not as a bit of fluff and nonsense that you do when times are good.
Yep. Totally. No, good insights there. I really agree with what you said. Well, we've gone quite a bit of time here, so let's have a little break. So Phil can have a little bit of a coffee for himself, and we'll come back to you guys soon.
Cheers.
Hello there. Welcome back to By the Fire with Buck, and we just had a little break with Phil. Now we're back here to Phil to answer my questions. So my next question is, how do you think businesses can improve their communications with their clients, customers, users during this COVID-19 economy?
It's really just through being proactive and being empathetic. So that's kind of broad brush approach, but really just be thinking about what issues your customers are facing, and then see if you can be proactive in communicating with them. You might be doing that through social media. You might even be just doing it through making a phone call. But equally, you might change your content on your website or other communications channels just to reflect how COVID is affecting their business and how you can help solve their problems. It's the empathy side of it.
That's the thing, and I think at least send an email out, say, hey, this COVID-19 and we're available to help if you need anything. Or COVID-19 is just an unexpected bigger version of life, which is unpredictable. So always be ready to be proactive and empathetic. Totally. So say if a business that doesn't have any communications plan, what's the next step for them to up their game?
Okay, well, assuming that you've had some discussions or you've got some idea of what you need to do, you're prepared to spend some money on it, you might go to the market, ask around, see if you can find a marketing consultant. There are plenty of them around. You could Google them, meet with a few of them, go to some networking meetings like BNI, for instance. You often meet people with a marketing background there. It's a little bit tricky because you don't know what you don't know. So I'd be a little bit wary of doing something like go to a designer and say, we need a new logo, because the designer will probably say, oh, of course, I can do a new logo. You might not really need a new logo. You might need to change some other things first before you spend money on doing a logo. So try and find someone who can help you have that strategic discussion about communications, and it might be an outsourced marketing consultant or a company. Ask around your business network is probably a good way to start.
No, totally. I agree. And you do want to have a plan, right? So if you don't have a plan, then you do need a plan. And someone who can plan is someone who has a background in marketing. And has a good track record, can talk strategically, not just at the sort of nitty-gritty level of we're going to print something for you or we're going to design you a new website. That might be the answer to the problem, but you shouldn't start there unless you really know what you're doing. If you're not highly experienced in marketing, a common mistake is you start with a solution and then work backwards to the problem. So a consultant should help you avoid making that mistake
and work out what your real need is. And through that discussions, you might work out that there's a very cost-effective way for you to grow your sales through your existing customer base, for instance.
Yep.
And your solution isn't to change your brand and to relaunch yourself into a new market, but have that discussion, be prepared to pay for some consultancy, start by asking around your business network and looking for good examples of work like that. Educate yourself, spend some time online, go to some networking meetings, have a few coffees with people, and start to learn about how the business works, and find someone that you think can help you come up with a plan.
Yep, no, totally. I agree. And for me, the way I see it is that having a business plan, either in financial plan, budgeting plan, marketing plan, legal plan as well, if that works. So as with running a business, it's all about planning, right? Even though in reality that some of the plans don't work, but then you got a structure to follow.
You can always change your plan. And in fact, you should expect to change plans. But have a plan and work to it. Follow it through. Don't just be following the latest fad.
Exactly. You've got a direction to move towards too. So that's important, because otherwise you just move everywhere.
And it might actually be as basic as working with a good coach or advisor or mentor originally, just to help clarify your thinking about why you're doing what you're doing. Is there a better way to do it? Is there some resource that you need to bring in? So it could be as fundamental as that. But the answer will be different. But as you say, accept the importance of having a plan and then build on it.
Build on it. So it's like a framework. You just follow it, like beaten path, right? Whatever, you just follow it, and then if you change it, you just change a little bit. And at least you have a direction rather than just moving to all the directions that you don't even know which one works or which one doesn't, right? So that's my thinking. Like, if you run a business, you need a plan. That's important. All right. So the next question that I wanted to ask you is actually more personal, in a sense that it may help business owners or professionals out there that may see this as a good tip for you. So the next question is, when you feel overwhelmed or unfocused or have lost your focus temporarily, what do you do?
Yeah, I'm sure this happens to everyone. It's human nature. Our brains get fatigued for whatever reason. We can't really make headway. And I do what I suspect a lot of people do, which is stop trying to push your way through it. Take a break for 15 minutes. I often go outside for a walk. I take a little break down to the park. I find often walking just gets my mind moving again, and I, without focusing on the problem, I start to see a way through it, or I have an idea. I pull out my phone, I open the notes app, and I write it in there and there. I don't expect to solve it, but often it happens that way. The other tip I have is I have an app on my iPad called Flipboard. F-L-I-P.
I think
Flipboard.
I know the one.
Yeah, it's quite a common one. It's just a curated stream of articles from all sorts of publications. So you set up your areas of interest, and it's continuously being updated. I literally go and sit down in my living room in a different room. I open it up and I just flip through a few stories because it's kind of random. You're taking your mind off the problem, but it's something you're interested in, and it just relieves that cognitive load and resets your brain. I find it relaxing. It just feeds your curiosity. It calms you down, and you enjoy it. You don't want to turn it into a time sink where you spend 2 hours doing it.
Exactly.
But for me, that's a good one, because it's kind of light. It's not like you have to then refocus on doing something. Other people, I don't know, maybe they play a video game or something like that. But I'd beware of doing something that gets too immersive. Just go and take a walk, or go and flip through a feed of stories.
Or make yourself a cup of coffee. Just sit there and just enjoy it for 10 minutes.
Get out of that work space and then come back to it and start again. And my other tip is, I'm a big fan of the to-do list, weekly and daily. And I almost always have some simple, fairly easy but real tasks I have to do. So if I can't really crack the big one, often I'll take half an hour out and do the small one, just for the pleasure of ticking it off and saying, at least I got that done, and it just gets your energy and your brain moving again. And then you say, well, now I've finished that, I'll get on to this next one. And you realise, oh, I was getting a bit stuck there, but now actually I can see a way to do that. So by just doing something small but positive, you then get your motor running.
I think that makes sense in the sense that actually one stone, two birds. In the sense that you get things done at the same time, and also get your mind off things that are a bit too overwhelming.
And it just psychologically rewards you by saying, I'm being productive here. And so I always like to feel I'm achieving something.
And the fact that you actually do, because you actually take off your tasks. The things that you want to do, right? So
it's just it's a study tip, it's a life tip that anyone could use. And it's just, all I'm really saying is, for a writing task, sometimes they are quite complex and they're a bit hard to do the background reading, or you find it a bit boring, or your brain can't really focus. Take a walk, go and have a look through Flipboard, or just put that one to one side and do another task that's been building up, and dive into it, tick it off, and then say, now I've already achieved something, I'll go and achieve something else.
Yes, no, that's good. That's a very good tip. I agree with that, and I think I can actually use it for myself as well. So thank you very much for your tip there, Phil. Really appreciate that. So are there any books or any reading materials that you would like to recommend to our audience here for the little break?
So here's, if you are interested in copywriting, here's the one that to me it's about 30 different copywriters from the 1970s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, teens, all different types. It's got them telling their stories, giving advice, and then portfolios of actual ads. You won't like everything in there. Sometimes the advice will be contradictory, but you can learn something from any one of them. The dated ads, they're all good or interesting in different ways. So to me, this is endlessly interesting if you're interested in the craft of copywriting. It's not a lesson, tips and tricks, hacks type of book. It's more like, just get to know good work that's been done in the past. And the other book that I find useful is quite a well-known, by a guy called Luke Sullivan. This is really a guide to creating great ads. So it's a little bit pre-internet. I think it came from the 1990s, but it covers it just gives all sorts of practical advice and examples. It's very readable. How to create good ideas, how to write headlines, how to come up with what makes a good radio script. But it's very entertaining and easy to read. It's not a sort of a dry textbook. It just tells you about the process behind great campaigns.
No, totally.
And the other piece of advice I got from this, maybe from somewhere else as well, is the way to have a good idea is to have a lot of ideas. I think someone else has said that. So develop a mindset of just pouring them out without being too judgmental, and just get the motor working. Come up with lots and lots of different ideas. Make that part of the fun, and before you know it, some of them might be the first one you write, but you'll come back to it, or might be the 50th one you write. That will eventually, you'll say, that's the one.
That's the thing, right? So if you come up with like 100 ideas, but if 1% of them works, which is one idea, then you achieve what you want to do.
It's good advice for so many things. The mistake perfectionists sometimes make is they think they have to just find the one idea now, and then they have to make it the best possible idea. But often that means you're just sculpting a cliche. And there's a fantastic example. I probably don't have time to go into it, but if you tell people to come up with a lot of stuff, they will produce something better than if you tell someone they have to create one beautiful thing.
Options. No, totally. And I think that you of course, perfecting something is important because you're working towards making it better. But being a perfectionist is actually having quite a disadvantage because you're losing your time, you're losing your opportunity.
But the value of also putting lots and lots of thoughts or ideas or headlines out there is you start to see patterns and you say, these ones aren't working because of this, but you have to almost get them out there, understand them, and then you say, I'll set that aside, but I'm now going to focus on these other lines. You can't intellectualize your way to that without doing it. You have to blurt them all out. I actually have an A3 desk pad when I'm trying to come up with. I rule it into columns, and I just write freehand all sorts of things down. I also work on the computer, but just for generating lots of off the wall, but hopefully relevant ideas, good, bad, and ugly. I just write them all down without judging them. I try and cover that page.
I agree with that. So, being a perfectionist is different from working towards perfection.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way. You want to be always looking to do quality, but you understand the process is about freeing yourself up to have all sorts of ideas, allowing yourself to have bad ideas.
Exactly. And you learn on the way, right? So that's how it works. That you learn on the process, on the journey. Not you can't you can't get perfection on the first step that you start the journey. It's always about the steps that you keep going up and perfecting it on the way. So I think that's a good way of seeing a good tip right there.
So both those books to me embody that spirit. And you can learn a lot. And the other thing is just look out for good work and try and develop a good sense of what makes it good. Now that's obviously my interest as a professional copywriter, but I think it's kind of common sense if you just start paying attention.
Right, cool. No, thanks for the tips. They're really useful. I hope that our audience they can actually use them in their personal or also professional lives out there. So keep think about this when you say you have a moment that you feel overwhelmed or unfocused, then see if it works for you. So anyway, Phil, I think we are here towards the end of the interview already. Is there anything you'd like to say to our audience here about the trends of communications in 2021? What should they pay attention to?
Oh, that's such a big question.
It is a big question. I mean, that's why you're here. That's why you're here to tell people.
Where do I start?
Answer big questions.
I think the trend that has been coming for a long time and is still moving is the idea that people want authenticity. They want that human connection, and the media make that possible. In fact, that's the starting point now. There are no gatekeepers, so anyone can do anything. So you have to learn how to be authentic in public. And there is an art to doing that, and absolutely good writers, good designers, good digital designers, app developers, any sort of professional will help you work do that properly, but it's got to come from an authentic place. And I think the sort of the 20-somethings get that because they've just grown up in it. They've been putting stuff out there since before they could walk or talk. Exactly. But it's only going to keep on that way. You don't have to say it's all about being on Instagram, not be right for the best for every brand, but equally that whole idea that you can just put anything out there. So take responsibility for it. Be your best self. Just do it. Yes. No, I agree with that. Be authentic, and I think documenting your process, your journey, is quite important as well. Like letting people know that what you do, and telling having a documentary of what you're trying to achieve, and things like that helps as well. So to tell a story, it's always about stories, and we say it's always a story. Always be interested in people, be interested in language from writing. What are the trends? How are people communicating these days? And always be looking to see how you could your product, your service, what you're offering could resolve an issue or make life better for the customer. No, totally. And then anything goes. Well, it's been a great talk, Phil. Thank you very much for giving us tips and the insights in the world of copywriting, which not a lot of people know about it, because copywriting is a really specialized and professional word when it comes to business. So thanks so much for coming today and give us a talk and tips as well. So thanks, Phil. Yeah, glad to have you here, and hopefully one day you can come back on the show and continue the talk, and we can dig
more into, let's say, maybe a couple of years from now, see how the trend has changed.
Do a case study, tell a story. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thanks for having me, Bart.
No, it's great to have you here. So hopefully our audience here will learn from you a lot from you, and I know that they will. It is really it's been quite an insightful interview for me, and even I learned from you a lot as well. So thank you, and I will. That's the end of the interview here, and I will see you guys in another episode. And
okay,
Phil,
thanks.
I will put details of Phil in the description of this video, so you can get in touch with him anytime you want to. And he's a great guy to talk to. So if you feel like connecting to him on LinkedIn, I tag him on the videos as well. So thanks for watching, and I will see you very soon. Goodbye.